The hosts of Two Bored Apes are not registered investment advisors. The podcast is for entertainment and informational purposes only. Nothing said on it should be construed as investment advice.
Two Bored Apes talking NFTs, DeFi, and some random stuff. Two Bored Apes talking NFTs, DeFi, and some random stuff.
Welcome to episode 39 of Two Bored Apes. I'm your host, Jamie. I'm here with my friend and co-host, Roy, and two other special guests. Our first ever special guest, we got Kevin Rose and Ryan Carson here. We're going to talk about all sorts of stuff. So
we're going to talk
welcome,
Moonbirds.
gentlemen.
We're going to talk Proof. Yeah, welcome. How are you both?
Thanks for having us.
It's good to be here. This is fun. We feel like we're intruding on your podcast as your first.
You kind
guest.
of are, but
well,
it's a,
we appreciate that.
accepted the intrusion, so it's fine.
Feel better
Yeah.
now.
There's consent. So what we've got here is Roy got some questions about NFTs. I got some questions about random stuff, and we're just going to, I think, fire away at them and learn about you.
Yeah, I think we'll
and
go
the
back and
project.
forth. Yeah,
Sounds good.
excellent. Well, I want to go right back to the beginning. So, I mean, just to give some context for listeners, Kevin is the founder of the Proof Collective and Proof, which is a podcast which turned into Proof Collective, which is an NFT project. The Proof Pass is like a membership pass, 1,000 members. This curated group, well, not curated, but like it's this group of serious collectors basically who really are passionate about NFTs. And this pass just went absolutely crazy. It minted out it was a Dutch auction starting at 5 ETH. It went all the way down to 1, I believe, and sold out there. And it's sitting at like 92 ETH floor now, like 4 months later, which is just ludicrous. And honestly, congratulations for that. That's very impressive. And then Moonbirds is a project that was conceived, I guess, as where did you have the idea for Moonbirds? I'll let you speak to that.
Yeah, I guess I can start, and then Ryan, you can jump in whenever you like. Essentially, what we realized with the Proof Collective was a couple things. It is like, as you mentioned, 1,000 members, so it's fairly limited in its reach. These are all hardcore, dedicated, like the most hardcore NFT collectors, and it's awesome that we're building kind of tooling and conferences and information for all that group. But we wanted to reach a slightly broader audience because we had so many people that listened to the podcast that reached out and said, "Hey, I missed out on this Proof Collective thing. I didn't get one of the Proof Passes. Like, how can I be involved in some way?" And so, it was tough because we didn't want to open up the Proof Collective because we'd already promised people, that was limited max forever of 1,000 members. But we were sitting on 100,000 plus, close to 150,000 listeners of the actual podcast, and we wanted to bring other people along for the ride. And then at the same time, we realized it's pretty much table stakes these days if you're playing in the NFT space to have your own PFP. But for us, it's always been about more than just a PFP and how we can actually add utility and functionality on top of PFPs. And so we knew very quickly that our Proof Collective members didn't want to use a picture of a credit card looking pass as their avatar on Twitter. Just not going to work. So we're very fortunate to have Justin Mazzell as our head of design and kind of co-founder, and basically a fantastic artist. Had done the Grim Syndicate Solana drop prior to that, which sold out at 10,000 PFP. I mean, just a really deep talent in terms of design and product thinking. And so we combined the best of both worlds, what we know to do at the Proof Collective in terms of adding utility to NFTs, and then also expanding that out to 10,000. And that is what is now called Moonbirds.
What was interesting about Proof is that I came across NFTs for the first time ever because of Kevin. So Kevin was my first investor at Treehouse. The company was getting acquired, and he's like, "Hey, you should listen to my podcast." And so I went back to Modern Finance and started listening. And then all of a sudden, NFTs started to come up more and more in the feed. And then he decided, well, this should be a different podcast called Proof.
I noticed that transition as Modern Finance basically started turning into what Proof became.
There's a lot more Proof episodes now than Modern Finance. And so I started listening, and the first episode with DC Investor, where he explained what NFTs were, just blew my mind, and I thought, oh my God, like this is way more powerful than anything that's ever happened in Web 2.
You told me you had to pull over the car He said he was driving, and I don't think I've ever. There's only one time I pulled out of the car, and this is when my daughter threw up in the back seat. So it must have hit you pretty hard to pull over the car.
You know, when you're like processing something, and you're like, "Oh my god," and then you think, "Oh my god!" Like, and then you realize
I had the same thing happen.
Yeah, Jamie, when he wanted to go buy CryptoPunk, he read an article. He was like, "I'm gonna get," and then he saw the price and was like, "Ah."
Yeah, I read an article by Packy McCormack about it, and I got totally sold on NFTs. I'd already heard about them, but I also didn't understand why you couldn't just right click save them, essentially, until I read that and got kind of red pilled on it. And I was like, oh my God, I have to buy one of these CryptoPunk things. I'm going to just go definitely buy one. And then I saw the price. I was like, okay, maybe I don't have to.
Maybe not. And it's before you start thinking in ETH, right? Now I don't think in dollars anymore. But so I think when I realized, oh my God, NFTs are this infrastructure is going to change the whole world. You know, I tried to retire, and then I basically decided I have to join what Kevin's doing with Proof. I mean, like, what better group to be a part of than people who just talk and breathe and think about NFTs all day? And it's been a wild ride. Well,
I want to just dig into that a bit more, because so you bought a Proof Pass, is that right? Because now you're the chief operating officer of the Proof Collective. So how did that happen?
So, I mean, you know, Kevin and I go way back, good friends, trust each other. And so when he said, hey, I'm going to do an NFT drop and it's going to be a community, I was like, oh, that sounds fun. But, you know, even so I was prepared to pay 5 ETH for it, you know, but that's the kind of purchase you got to talk to your partner about. Like, you can't just drop, you know. Well, I
don't say that on a podcast, dude. I buy shit all the time for 5 ETH. I don't tell my wife about it.
Now I do. But
my fiance listens to this. That's
I mean, that
why you ruin it for all of us, man.
But it was cool because I actually brought her into this process. I was like, hey, Kevin's doing this thing. Like, I think we should do it. It'd be really fun. And she's like, go for it. Like, that sounds like fun. And so I texted Kevin. I was like, hey, bro, I want in. And he's like, it's just wait. I'll hold one back for you, whatever the floor is. And I was like, okay, cool. And it dropped a 1, you know, and hopped in. And here I am, a grown 44-year-old man in Discord all day. My wife's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I thought you were retired. And I was like, this is the best community I've ever been a part of. And it's full of smart, interesting people. And Kevin's doing exciting things. And then one day I woke up and I was like, I want to help run this thing. So I texted him and said, man, I want in. Let me run this thing with you. Let's go. And here we are.
That's
very
amazing.
Cool. I just want to mention that I think the Grails project was such a cool idea in the Proof Collective. But now we're going to get to a little bit of non-NFT talk. My first question here is, do you have a favorite historical period to learn about?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I do. I tend to, well, this is not, I don't know, this is that interesting to NFT folks, but I tend to read a lot of old Zen manuscripts. Zen originated in China and then made its way to Japan. But so for me, it's that kind of area of thinking that I'm definitely drawn to. So if you take a look at my bookshelf, that is very much smaller than Ryan's. If you can see the video, it is just literally like hard to find out of print Zen manuscripts that when I lay in bed at night, just like take me completely out of the world of the tech side and give me that break, you know.
I actually don't read as much as I would like to. It's hilarious because if you're listening to this, there's this huge bookshelf behind me.
That's just branding.
It is. It's real.
It's a virtual background, basically.
But the truth is, like, I have a very short attention span, and I don't read long books, and it makes me sound like a Luddite, but it's just me. I love video. I mean, this is why I started Treehouse, which teaches through video. So I absorb most of my knowledge through video and podcasts. And I just, you know, I love certain podcasts. And one of my favorite is How I Built This by Guy Raz. It's just the most epic podcast for, you know, company founders. And I've listened to every single episode. So that's kind of the period of history. Which is not very exciting.
Very modern.
Very modern.
Yeah.
But very different from the ancient Zen stuff.
Ancient Zen stuff.
Yeah. We're good yin and yang to each other.
All right, back to Moonbirds. Did you draw any like inspiration from previous collections that you were like, ideas either from the art perspective or from the execution utility perspective when designing the whole project?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, anyone that's looked at what Bored Apes has done, it's been phenomenal. I mean, just some of the innovation they had there around some of the serum drops and just the community they built. And there's so much to pull from there. I would say that when we do something new, the things that really excite us and that get us up, out of bed in the morning, oftentimes really early now, which is just crazy because I used to want to sleep in. I'm sure you all know this too. Like you start thinking about NFTs, you're like, I'm out of bed. Like, where's my laptop? Right? So the things that excite me though are not just doing Me Too projects, like in terms of just cloning what's already been.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. There's plenty of that already.
Plenty of that, and then that's like I don't need to build another one of those things. Like so. What we want to do and where we pulled our inspiration from is we asked ourselves back to the foundational first principles is like what hasn't been done and what is interesting here. And so I started thinking about when I had my Bored Ape and I got my ape coin. And I thought that it was odd that I got the same distribution as everyone else, even though people could have bought it the day before. And I realized instantly that, there's not a lot of loyalty baked into basically what we see in existing real world use cases like airline miles, right? You get different status depending on how much you fly with an airline, or you get better perks as you go up the credit card chain and if you have different types of cards and things of that nature. So when I think about PFPs and community, there's two worlds of thinking here. I mean, one is, okay, you just have a standard piece of art. It's a PFP. It is what it is. And actually, if you're a creator of one of those projects, and I'm not putting Bored Apes in this camp, by the way, this is like any other project, you like churn. You like turnover because turnover generates cash, just straight up. Like you make money every time one sells, right? And I think that really damages community because if you want durable, lasting community, you want people to get to know each other. You want people to stick around. You want people to unite around a purpose. And so we started thinking, how can we, there's always going to be a natural small percentage of churn. And I think if you, that's fine. That'll fund whatever endeavors you want to go into if you have a big project. But if you can really reward the people that are saying, I'm committed to this, I want to be your best brand advocates. I want to come out there and really be involved in the space and lock up my NFT. That's kind of the innovation we were excited about with Moonbirds is say, well, you can nest your bird and then you unlock different tiers of status and rewards and benefits. So I'm not taking a pool of capital and dividing it up equally amongst 10,000 people or coins or whatever it may be, because then you're just, you end up getting like a t-shirt in the mail and an engraved pen or something, right? It's like you don't have enough to, but I really want to reward the people that are committed since day one and that are believers since day one or day 10 or whatever it may be. But, it's so that's what we're trying to figure out. And that's like what's slightly different here that we're building on top of. And then also one other thing I should mention that I think is really worth mentioning is the way we think about utility and rewards based on two ways to slice the data. One is based on loyalty, which we just mentioned, and the second is based on attribute. So you can think of if I have an attribute of a Moonbird with a little space helmet on, and this is just a random example. We haven't secured this yet, but I did have Elon Musk on my podcast, so maybe it'll happen. But maybe you get a yearly tour of SpaceX if you have that particular Moonbird and you've held it for more than 3 months. So it's thinking about, can we tie? We also have a Moonbird that is going to have a little grail on top of their head. Can't really talk much about what that one will do, but like there's going to be some really fun different attributes that we play with here that unlock other things, as well as your commitment to holding.
Yeah, we're surprised that nobody has implemented something like nesting before. So this idea of we actually want, now there's staking, right? There's a lot of staking going on with cryptocurrencies, but and there's some staking with Pixel Vault. You actually get POW tokens, and that's interesting. But there's not much beyond that. And so
it's
we
all
think
ERC20 based, it seems like, for the
right,
existing.
mostly, yes, exactly.
Right. And so we think that we hope actually everybody steals this idea of kind of inherent staking, but it's non-custodial, right? So you're not actually locking your NFT up in a contract. It's actually a attribute written on the blockchain. And And what's really neat about it, and we have an amazing blockchain dev team called Divergence. They're essentially going to write the contract so that you can't transfer out your Moonbird if it is nested. And if you try, the MetaMask transaction will actually fail. So it's going to actually prevent a lot of the phishing that's going on where folks are using the transfer functions. But like, why wouldn't you reward your community for holding your NFT, like really holding it? Like,
right.
We would love for people to be Moonbirds forever. Right. And we know that somehow we're going to win revenue wise from that, but let's put the community first.
So when you're talking about like trait-based rewards and stuff for nesting, are you thinking of the concept, like for instance, touring SpaceX, that kind of thing? Are you thinking of possibly, I guess it's likely to just vary, but have that be sort of itself a NFT that can be tradable, or do you really want to leave those rewards and have it be for the person who's staking it rather than sort of just throwing off an asset to the person for
we haven't thought about. It's a great question, and I guess to fairly answer it, would say we haven't gone that far in the thinking in terms of what you just mentioned. That said, I think it's a cleaner mechanism to just say you just have to hold this particular bird. But what's broken there, that we can't get into a lot of details, but what is broken there clearly is a way to take that into the real world. Like when you walk into a space, how do you prove that you own a Moonbird or a Bored Ape? You can pull out your MetaMask or something. Like you could fake a lot of that, right? You can have a screenshot of something or a fake MetaMask or any number of things. And then how do you authenticate that on the back end? So if I walk into the MoMA and I want to, I heard it's free Moonbird Day for tours of the MoMA, and I want to walk around the art museum. What rails do I need to be playing with and talking to make that possible? And so, we're looking at APIs at the Square level that give you all the way down to the register. We're looking at, as you can imagine, there would be a mobile accompanying app that goes with this. Also, how do we allow people into our conferences that have Moonbirds or Proof Collective passes? Like, how can they prove that when they walk up with their phone? So as you can imagine, there's a lot of tooling that needs to be built there that as technologists, like we're down. Like that's what we do all day long. So we'll go out and build that, and we'll make it amazing where we'll just enable these things to happen without even having to be there. Like there is a world in the not too distant future where I can go in and say, okay, here's a really hip bar in New York. Guess what? Boom, this bar is enabled. They use Square or they use Shopify or any of the number of different APIs out there. We just threw a $2,000 tab on that bar for an impromptu Moonbird meetup, and have people go and swarm and meet up and just walk in and use their phone literally to pay. And there's no money left out of their wallet, but they can prove that they hold it. Right. So those are the types of things that we're just like, yeah, let's go build that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. That does sound awesome.
That sounds, it reminds me, I don't know if you know the project Psychedelics Anonymous, but the founder Vultura, he's really prolific and known for like looking after his community. And one of his members was just tweeting about, hey, I'm going to a bar in Sydney to catch up. Anyone want to come? And he replied, I just called the bar and put a $2,000 tab on, and et cetera. So yours is just like the next level of tech to make that enabled. But I think it's such a cool idea and such a cool use case of NFTs.
It's going to be fun. Absolutely.
Yeah. It will be fun. That's just the beginning, right? I think the lucky and hindsight smart thing that Kevin did when he started Proof is that it was a community first that we can launch awesome ideas into, and that community does not churn, right? So I know, Roy, you're part of the family now. It's fun to see you in Proof, and why are people buying into Proof and staying? It's because it's a very high quality community that we curate very close. Like we curate the experience, and it's very friendly and inclusive once you get in. And then it's like, okay, we're going to launch products on top of that, right? And now, dropping Grails, dropping Moonbirds. Moonbirds are going to be the key to high rise, which we've hinted at, and we're just going to keep going.
Amazing.
We have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like it. You see a lot of definitely in NFT projects where nothing exists, and now we're releasing these NFTs and hoping a community forms, but there's already so much competition trying to do the exact same thing. never mind the ones that ever have succeeded and established it. It seems very difficult to actually do that. So to kind of build the community first and then build on top of it seems like a much better way to go.
Yeah, we agree. Absolutely.
All right. Next question from me. What is the last big thing that you changed your opinion about?
Gosh, that's easy. The Dutch auction mechanic that we were going to drop on the Moonbirds community.
That
was a big one.
That one.
I mean, that really is true. Actually, I want to talk about that a little bit. So, Ryan, I saw you responding to a lot of people on Twitter about it, and you were basically saying, some people were talking about Dutch auctions starting with a higher price than 2.5, and you were saying that you really didn't want to do that, even though, conceptually a Dutch auction is sort of supposed to start where people are not going to get it. Now, was your concern just that, again, that's going to just let too many whales in, basically, because it'll end up, if you started at 20, people start getting in at 6 and 5 or whatever, and you're just not going to be able to get as many people in?
Yeah, here's what happened. So we decided on a Dutch auction, wanted to put it at 2.5 because we thought, people, it's not going to mint out at 2.5.
Yeah.
It'll probably, we guessed it. Maybe it would mint out at 1.
Like 1.5 or something.
Yeah.
I think internally we were talking about that. Yeah.
Right. And in the Discord, and Roy, this is before you're in there, people were saying, nobody knows what proof is. Nobody knows what Moonbirds are. You all don't understand. Like it's a big echo chamber. Right. And we just said, wait, give us a minute, like, trust us. We're going to spin up, the machine and it'll be fine. And it all started with a Twitter space from Kevin's account. He's 1.6 million followers. And all of a sudden people noticed, right? And said, wait, what is proof? And like, it's like at a 50 ETH floor. Like, what is that? And then you're dropping a PFP, like, oh my God, wait a second. And then all of a sudden proof passes started flying. Right. And then all of a sudden everybody was talking about Moonbirds. Right. And so we started getting messages, right? Kevin's extremely connected. I have a huge network. We're fortunate to have lots of folks on our network that are very high net worth. And we just started getting messages. Hey, just so you know, we're stacking ETH. Like, we're going to make a move. Like, we really think there's something here. Right. And then I'm a member of Flamingo DAO. We have $1 billion in assets under management on the NFT side. And there was a conversation about going into these, and I can't repeat it here, but I was just like, maybe I should step out of the room for a minute, because like I probably should. I'm a little conflicted here on this particular DAO topic, So we just kept, and then there was proof members who were like, hey, listen, I'm setting up 50 wallets, and I'm going to get 100 Moonbirds. Like, I'm going to throw all my ETH at this, right? And so at some point we had to say, okay, this is not going to work. Right.
Yeah. That's not the community you're trying to build. Right?
No, like,
right. And it doesn't broaden the community. Exactly.
No, we're not. And we weren't being egotistical or unrealistic or trying to drive the price up. It's like, hey, this is a fact. We actually don't want this to mint out at 2.5 with the gas war, but it is going to. So what do we do? Right. So we all met and said, all right, we got to switch.
Well, then the Gary thing happened, right?
Oh yeah.
the AJ thing, more like AJ is more in charge of that
pass,
one.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So we saw this huge gas war, and we're like, we cannot do that. Like, we can't have people dumping millions of dollars of ETH, to miners and losing their money. It's a terrible. And Kevin was really, really strong about this. Like, we're not doing that. So then it's like, all right, what do we do? Decide on a fair raffle. We have a kick-ass team that will stop most of the botting. We're not concerned about this being overly botted, because we're working our ass off and we have some really clever stuff up our sleeve.
I cannot wait to do the post-mortem on this and do a long blog post about the anti-botting stuff we're doing.
Yeah.
It's intense what we're doing on the botting side. There's a lot you can look at, a lot of data to analyze.
So we're convinced that a lowly botted, highly distributed raffle is the most fairest mechanic. And now people are like, well, you're just grabbing money because you're charging 2.5. It's like, you don't understand. Like, this was going to be completely eaten up by bots and whales at 2.5. Nobody would have won except for them. So at least there's a chance.
And the miners.
So we actually feel
miners would have won.
Good about this, that this is a good mechanic. And on Twitter, you're just trying to talk people through that. Like, why do we make this choice, and not get angry about it and convince them we're doing this? I know it's like, trust me, we're doing the right thing for the community here. And actually, $65 million is not that much for a company that has, deep building plans in front of us.
It sounds like a lot, but when you look at, like, if you're making a play, like, truly for a top 5 PFP project, and you look at who's the cohort you're running with here? Like, who else is here now? How are they capitalized? Yuga Labs, $450 million round of financing on March 22nd.
On top of the war chest they already have.
Right. So it's not to say, like, I mean, they're going after a different market, I believe, but we're swinging for the fences and we're building out a pretty deep bench here. We're going to use the capital in a responsible way and launch some awesome products. So that's kind of our rationale for the use of proceeds.
Can you talk like a bit more in like terms of specifics with where the money is going in terms of, I know that there's a high-rise project that you're building and we've speculated about, but yeah, so 65 million, it's a ton, but it's also not that much again when you're competing with these massive entities. But what sort of allocation do you sort of see that going if you're comfortable speaking to it?
Yeah, we can speak to it a bit for sure. I think that in terms of the public roadmap and what you've seen, we always talk about disclosing 6 months in advance. And we don't like to go any further out because we've already said a couple of things today that we've never said on any other podcast around some of the wallet stuff that we want to do and the in-person stuff we want to do. Like, we haven't really mentioned that anywhere. And we've got another dozen or so things that are like that you can imagine need to be well-staffed and built out and have complete support structures around. Like, I've run very large product organizations inside of Google. Like, Ryan's run very large project organizations. Like, we know the proper allocation of resources to actually get things done in a timely manner and really truly deliver, not just have a fancy roadmap up there, but really launch products. And so we're very, 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 very comfortable with this number. We'll right size the team to that number. So we don't want to like be one of these companies that puts together, crazy multi-million dollar, bashes that are just about blowing money for random marketing expenses. Like, that's, if anything, like, our marketing, our strongest marketing has always come directly from our community that love what we build. And so we have to double down on that and let the community speak for who we are and what we build. And what we do is we're fantastic product builders. And if we can deliver on that promise and deliver a different version of the metaverse that no one has ever even conceived of, and that one is like, that's wildly different, that is not this expansive landscape that you're running around for looking for something to do, but is very purpose built and purpose driven for specific use cases. Like, I think we go and win in a massive way. And that's our core strength. That's our core competency. At the end of the day, like, if you look at my career historically, like, I've built massive social products. Like, Dig had 38 million people a month using it. And, zero, but millions of people a month still use it today. It's that we're very comfortable in that space. That makes sense.
It's going to be fun. Yeah. I mean, and just so everyone is crystal clear, 0 ETH is going to me and Kevin and Justin. I mean, I've got a salary and that's all I get. And we love that. Like, we're here to build.
I love that. I love what you said about how your community is doing the marketing, because the reason I bought a pass, I think last week at 55 ETH, because one of your community members kept telling me, he said at 7 ETH, you got to get one. You get 15, 30. Finally, I listened. And, again, it's a testament to the community, just how, they're out there. And I think the strongest community is Bored Ape Yacht Club. They're so popular because the thousands of apes are on Twitter raving about how awesome it is to be part of the community.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
So true.
And this is what makes Web3 so special. Like, your biggest fans are your customers, and it's a wonderful place to be.
It's the other thing too, I think, different thing than we've ever seen. It's really strange and wonderful.
One of the things that you'll see me do on Twitter a lot is I'm always switching out my PFP for something else. I found a new project I really get excited about. I had the larva lads on there at one point, like little worms, like all that stuff. And I think that the one thing I love about this is you don't have to be a diehard ape or CryptoPunk holder and exclude anyone else. Like this, at least for me, I don't think this is a winner take all market. I don't think the apes are going to win absolutely everything. And I think people are going to innovate in different ways, and you'll see us take a very different direction than a lot of other projects out there. And I think that's a good thing for the industry as a whole.
It feels like if NFTs succeed the way that like we all feel like they will, none of these individual projects can really win it all, because it's not a big enough thing. we're really assuming that everybody's going to be in this space eventually, and there's just not enough of any given project to go around.
Right. It'll be very distributed, right? And that'll be wonderful. There'll be all these little communities of 20,000 and 50,000 and 75,000 and 10,000 running around all over the place. And you'll find your clique, you'll find your crew, you'll find the people that you resonate with that are providing value to you as an individual. And in a perfect world, 5 years from now, we'll all be laughing at this because there'll be tens of millions of people and tens of thousands of different communities that are all doing very unique things and serving different markets, you know?
Yes. I mean, I was literally driving and I was saying to Jill, my wife, I was like, I have never felt closer to a community in my whole life than I do the Proof community. This is bonkers. Like, I literally never met most of these people, right? And what I think Kevin's right. We're going to see these niche verticals, you know, just explode, and it's so exciting. I can't wait.
Yeah, I remember last year, Roy and I got into art blocks relatively early.
Congrats.
Nice.
Not crazy early, but relatively. And then, you know, in the summer when the big buyers just started emerging and we were spending all this time in Block Talk on the Discord, it was like, I had never felt anything like that. Just that sense of excitement and community. It was just so, it was so much
something
fun.
else. It was just, I'll never forget that period of my life. Like just,
I know, man. Same. Watching those Fidenzas climb and everything else, and those drops coming out, you're just like, oh my god, so crazy.
So you got to share your listing story on the Fidenza in case people haven't heard it, Kevin.
My listing story. Oh, in terms of why it sold.
Well, remember you listed it and went to sleep.
Oh yeah. Well, I didn't think anyone would buy it. So
what did you list it at? Yeah.
Well, something some people do is they list, like, one of the things I used to think was funny to do is to list things at just outrageous numbers, and you actually get more eyeballs on things. Like people will sort by highest, you know, listed. And you're like, oh, look at mine's getting more views. Like my art is getting more, you know, it has more like screen time in front of all these people. So I listed a Fidenza and I'd paid 1 ETH for this, and I don't even know what it was. Was it 2.3 million or something it sold for in USD?
777 ETH. Yeah.
Yeah, 777 ETH. Yeah, it was just like a funny number at the time.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I woke up in the morning and I told my wife, I'm like, wait, I gotta open. See, this is a phishing thing. Like, this didn't sell. Like, you know, it's like.
So what was your reaction? Were you happy or sad or both?
Happy, sad.
Well, happy because I still had a couple extra Fidenzas in them, and it wasn't my favorite one. So I was very happy about that. But yeah, you know, I think that Tyler Hobbs in general is just such a fantastic artist. Like just in terms of the level of detail and thought, even when he did the Grails project, blowing people's minds and that kind of photorealistic generative art style that he came up with. It's just amazing, the coding skills that guy has. Just an honor to be a collector and to spend time with him and Marfa at the Art Blocks gathering was awesome.
He's so kind and humble too. Like when we interviewed him for Proof, you know, he just acts like he's no big deal. You know, second highest grossing artist of all time in NFTs, right?
Wow.
Yeah, it's no big deal.
It is strange too, because in some sense, like the day before the Fidenza drop, he kind of was, right? He was just another nerd that was making art with code that very few people knew about.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, people got to see it, and it was just, I mean, that must have been a hell of a life change for him last year.
It's wild.
I will give you all a little piece of alpha that's probably fun for your listeners that may be of interest. So with Tyler, you know, I had him on my podcast, and this is when Fidenzas were really, I mean, yes, they sold out, but they weren't worth nearly the crazy numbers yet, right? And I was like, oh man, I love your art. And I was talking to him, and I was like, is there any chance I could just like commission you to do a 1-of-1? And he was like, oh yeah, I guess so. Like, you know, people don't really ask about that thing, you know? And so I commissioned him to do a 1-of-1. And I won't say how much it was, but let's just say it was well priced, like reasonably priced. And it turns out he's only done 4 1-of-1s in the entire, like, outside of any of his collections. And I happen to have one of those 4, which is just insane.
Wow, and insane.
This is a thing that a lot of people can do with artists. Actually, you can reach out to them directly and just ask them like, hey, do you do any one-off work where I could commission something? And oftentimes they either have stuff that's sitting that they just never minted, that they're like, hey, do you like any of these? Or they, especially ones that have done just big generative drops, they're like, oh, crazy. Someone wants a unique one that's just like, oh yeah, I dabble in art on the side that is not generative, that is like this. And it gives you a chance to own a very unique piece that you might not otherwise find, and make a new friendship. And a lot of them are open to this. And it's classically how things have been done for hundreds of years. Commissioning artists is a very, very normal thing to do. So just something to consider if you find an artist that you really like. Reach out to them.
Tyler's about to get hundreds of DMs after this.
Yeah, exactly.
One of them's from me as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm writing mine in my head right now.
Well, and the cool thing about commissioning in this sense is you're not asking the artist to like draw a picture of your family or some sort of bullshit.
Yeah.
Would like
do their own art.
It would have. That's the way art used to work, right? Like, and artists were basically highly paid serfs, right? Whereas now it's like, do whatever comes out of you, and I will collect it.
Yeah.
Right. And I love that the artists are getting the power.
I've been talking about that a lot lately with like specifically digital art. To make a living at it before, you basically, it seems to me, had to work for like Pixar or a gaming community and just make this other thing. But now there's a way for people to actually value it and collect it and let the artist do whatever their artistic instinct is telling them to create.
Yeah, it's so cool.
All right, I think you're up, Jamie.
What video game have you spent the most time in your life playing?
Oh, that's the easy one for me. You want to go first, Ryan?
No, you go then.
Just the Zelda series. My daughter's name is Zelda. I've played every single Zelda, and the second a new one comes out, my wife gets pissed because she actually is the one that she goes in and she plays too. She's a hardcore Zelda fan, but she collects like every little shell and like every little thing. And I'm just like, I'm gonna beat this thing, And I go through it. I gotta like crush all the levels. And then I'm really upset with myself because I beat it like a week later, and I'm like, oh man, now I gotta wait 3 more years for the next one. So next time I'm gonna take my time and go through and collect all the little things, little side quests.
It does. It takes a lot of patience to do that. I'm a huge Civilization fan. Like, I like Civ.
Roy and I played a lot of Civilization.
I absolutely love it. Like Civ 6, like the strategy and I'm an introvert actually. So like just kind of playing a game by myself sometimes is just a real treat. So Civ 6, I just played and played it.
You have like a favorite civilization to choose or a couple?
I like Rome. I mean, it's interesting though, because there was one time when Jill caught
now you're
me.
Speaking my language.
Oh, they're just having good builders. Like, I won the space race with them. And so, but I remember once Jill caught me playing Civ 6 when I was supposed to be working, and she like came upstairs. She's like, "What are you doing?" Like, and I was like, "Oh shit!" Like, so that was kind of fun.
Yeah, it's one more turn, right? You could just do one more turn forever and ever.
And then it's like 2 a.m. You're like, "Oh my god, what am I doing?"
Yeah.
When's someone going to make like the
new
Civ
technologies
6 with
about to
NFTs? Yeah,
that would be amazing.
All right, back to NFTs. Where do you see Moonbirds in 5 to 10 years?
That's a great question.
That's fun to think about.
I ask that to everyone because it's
so tough too, because the whole space is so young. To imagine that is unfathomable almost.
It is. Fun. It's very true. And we've thought about like, how do we, when we bake in and we're building out, some of these attributes, like what gives us enough kind of latitude to go in and plan for the unknown, like what we might want to do in the future. Like, are there things that we want to do at the contract level now that we may not use in the future, but at least it's there so we can use it if we'd like to. That would be too hard for me to plan that far out. I would say as an organization, you will see us have many different kind of wings of service of what we do in terms of like being a new modern kind of media company. But I hope that at that point, Moonbirds is, certainly a really well-recognized kind of global entity, and that we've empowered a lot of people to take their IP and do wonderful things with it. And so it's a little bit of us helping them in terms of the benefits we can add on top of it. but also helping them project their own voice with the IP that they own.
I mean, ultimately, PFP projects are communities. I mean, these are 10,000 units. Hopefully we'll have a very high unique holder count. So hopefully, 9,500, holders. Like, that's actually what we're building. We're building a community, right? So I can't wait to see, like, what could we do with 9,000, extremely loyal, really excited fans, and they're global, right? And then you plug them into high rise and the things that we're launching. I think there's just no end to what it could be, and I think it's just fun to think about building that out. Can't wait.
How much can you talk about high rise? I know you're sort of keeping your cards close to the chest a bit, but yeah, just for someone who maybe is learning about Moonbirds for the first time, what is high rise?
Yeah. Well, Moonbirds will be kind of your front row ticket, almost like it's like a pass to be a beta member of this new metaverse that we're building, and it will actually give you real ownership in that metaverse when the time comes. I can tell you what we're not. We have no interest in being an expansive 3D world where you're having to hit escape to get your mouse back and have a hard time looking around and bumping into odd shaped bodies all over the place. Like that we don't want to be. We don't want to be a game. So we know we're not going to build the next Minecraft or something like that. So I think if you think about the reason we chose the word kind of high rise is we think about these verticals of community. And that can be a building that is built up of the Proof Collective. It could be a building that is built up of the Flamingo DAO. It could be, and each level kind of in the high rise represents an individual. And so what can you do inside of those tight constraints? So community, social, display of NFTs, a lot of thinking there. Who's coming in and going out of the various buildings? How do collections move over time and change over time based on the building and vertical? Just a lot of kind of fun ways to visualize the data that's already happening. Like, I'll give you an example. Flamingo has 1 billion in NFTs under management. What are they collecting right now? What moved out of their collection? What's coming into the collection? What are their favorites? What are being hung up and displayed proudly? So, those are things that we think that we can visualize along with community and interesting ways to interact with each other. So, it's almost like a mashup in a sense of like old school Sims with GeoCities and a hint of a dash of Discord or something. So we've got a pretty unique take on what we want to do, and it's very different than the quote unquote pretty loaded term of metaverse.
Yeah, it's funny you talk about that, because I first heard about the concept of a metaverse reading Matthew Ball's writing. I don't know if either of you read his stuff, but he was talking about the metaverse a lot before it became this term. And he was sort of describing basically sort of what we think of now as Web3. And then within this space, the term metaverse has just become basically describing any sort of virtual land that, is owned as an NFT. And so I've always tried to sort of push against that usage of the term metaverse, because I always thought of the metaverse as more of the interoperability of all of these different things that people are sort of now calling metaverses, and the communities we're all building and that sort of thing.
Right. We think of it like that as well. And in terms of, we want our assets to be able to move in and out and go in different directions. When Zuck showed off his demonstration of the Facebook metaverse, and it was,
I watched that whole thing.
Okay, so you remember when two people were sitting down at the table playing virtual chess?
Yes.
I was doing that shit on AOL in the 90s. Like, this is not the future. Like, it's not the future. Like, we've done this. We've done Second Life before. We've done all those things. So I'm just like, the lack of imagination, specifically out of Facebook, is just staggering, considering how many people they have. Well, I guess it's because you have centralized control there, maybe in some sense, but it's just, I don't think that's the future. I'm not a fan. I think we can do better and push in new directions.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah.
I mean, this idea that all of a sudden we're going to transition into the metaverse and not live these normal physical lives is ridiculous. I mean, we're going to be, life is not going to change a whole lot. And so our take on the metaverse is, it's going to be a place that you go to during an occasion, and there's a reason that you're going to participate, right? And I think curating that experience for moments in time just makes a lot more sense, and you can build something that makes sense and is more compelling. So excited to roll out the beta. The cool thing is,
plugging people into the matrix.
Yeah,
yeah,
which will happen, but not quite yet.
A few lifetimes away. Yeah. Jamie, I think you're up again.
All right, let's see here. All right, I have one. The government has decided to give all citizens universal basic income as long as they do one thing for at least 1 hour a month, that you get to choose what they have to do for 1 hour a month. What do you choose?
Wow, these questions are crazy.
Wow.
I mean,
did you write that question?
My friend Craig has a question that's very similar to it that I've always liked. And it gives me a good way to figure out what people, value and think society needs more of.
I honestly think it is a time away from the computer. So mine would be, you'd get to choose one of two things. It could either be walking out in nature. Yeah, there you go. He's gone. Walking out in nature, or I don't want to force meditation on people because it's kind of something you have to come to, but something like that to where you have a moment to just sit with yourself versus being always on a device, I think is the biggest for me.
Amen. Kevin got me into meditation, and it's been a big it's had a big effect on me. It's funny because as soon as you said that, my mind immediately went to, I would like people to go out and do something kind for somebody. Like just pure kindness, like no return. I feel like as soon as you do something kind for someone, you immediately change your mentality. Or someone does something kind to you, you immediately become kind. And I think we just need more of that.
Yeah, the other one too I'd add is, if it was possible with the government resources, it would be therapy. Just having someone to talk to. I think just giving people an outlet to open up and be vulnerable with others and teach them that skill set is just going to be, that would change so many things.
Change the world. Yeah. All right. How do you envision the relationship between like proof pass holders and Moonbirds evolving over
they're going to be fighting to the death.
Obviously, it'll be very symbiotic because proof holders will get Moonbirds, but I guess what's the utility then for Moonbirds versus proof holders?
I've actually been working on this, as you know. As I posted this in the Discord. So, a lot of the communities are gonna meet initially in Discord, right? And we very specifically did not want to have a separate Moonbird Discord. And I think Moonbird holders in the community, that they want to get in and understand what proof is and maybe have a peek at it and rub shoulders with proof members. And so essentially what we're going to do first is very simple. We're going to have token gated channels in our Discord for Moonbirds that proof holders are also allowed to go into. And we're going to see those communities start to rub shoulders. So that's thing one. And then thing two is, we're having IRL meetups. We're having Proof of Conference, which we think is going to be the biggest and best NFT conference in the world in 2023. Proof holders are going to go to that. Moonbird holders are going to go to that. So we're going to build relationships between these two communities. And then I think over time, we're going to continue to drop value to both communities and build that out. So that is initially what it is. Proof is not an alpha Discord, right? It's not for traders. It is a very long-term collector mindset. And we try to curate very intelligent, thoughtful conversation there. It doesn't always happen, but it's fun. So we're just going to keep doing that. We're going to see what these communities do as they come together. We're not interested in public Discords. I don't like public Discords at all. So we're going to curate that community and that vibe very closely.
Yeah, I think you'll see the focus obviously on the hardcore collector side, on the collective, in the proof collective. And then the Moonbirds will be a lot more playful. It's going to be about how we can extend a lot of these more meetups and extensions of what that unlocks for them, which is more in real life stuff, benefits of holding, benefits around attributes, just stuff that is very different than talking about whether or not to collect eggshells or something as a one of one on super rare. Like that's a different conversation.
Right.
All right, Jamie.
All right.
Roy, can I ask a question first?
Yeah,
So
of course.
if you are listening to this, you can't see Roy's sweatshirt, but he has a Hogwarts sweatshirt on.
Yep.
Are you a big fan, or what's going on with that?
Yes, actually, literally right now. So within Zen Academy, we have a movie night once a week, and episode 4, or movie 4, is being played on my TV in the other room. I mean, I grew up reading the books. I love Hogwarts. My fiance, she loves Hogwarts, Harry Potter. Yeah, big fan.
That's amazing. So there's like this weird owl thing going on, right? Like, and also if you're listening, you can't see behind Roy is the Zen Academy. Like, it's not a mascot, is it? It's kind of a soul thing.
It's becoming a mascot. Yeah,
it's an owl. So it's an owl. In Hogwarts, you have owls who send notes, and now you join Proof. Is something going on here with you and owls, or what's that?
I like owls. Yeah. So I mentioned, so we were talking about this in the Discord the other day, and someone said moonbirds are not owls. I thought that they were. Are they?
Oh, they're owls. They're just trolling
owls.
you.
Okay. All right. I was getting trolled.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I just want to comment on your shirt. I like it.
Thank you. All right. We got just under 10 minutes left. I think Jamie has one more question, and I have one more question.
I have one more question for you all as well.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, can I do real quick? I was just curious on Roy on the Zen on the whole Zen side. I noticed you're using like the Enso and symbol, and is there any Zen background there, or is that just something that you like the more kind of like casual term of Zen, like just being chill and that whole
It's
vibe?
a little more on the casual side. I got really into Stoicism like 5-7 years ago, and reading a lot of the philosophy there, and from that it sort of led me to Buddhism a little bit, and understanding the meditative lifestyle and all of that. And then when I came up with my screen name for NFTs, it's Zeneca. It's a hybrid between Stoic philosopher Seneca and the Zen lifestyle. I haven't really gone deep on Zen itself, but
you don't have the ancient texts.
I don't have the ancient text sitting on a bookshelf at home.
There's still
I have some good.
Yeah.
I gotta get your address, man. I'll drop you a couple books in the mail.
I'm gonna have to take you up on that.
Nice.
Yeah, please do. Seriously, I'm being dead serious.
All right, I will. Thank you so much.
When you were saying that, Ryan, that Kevin had gotten you into meditating, the same thing happened with Roy and I, as I recall, is that Roy started meditating, I don't know how many years ago it was, 10 or something like that.
Yeah.
And after a good amount of insistence, he got me into doing it. And it's profoundly difficult. But then when I was able to sort of push through and actually get the success from it, I was like, wow, this is sort of, possibly my answer to that universal basic income question, is that like if we could get everybody doing this, that would be really powerful.
It's like it's magical almost. It's just like it's superpower in a way. Yeah.
It's so wild realizing that actually you can think about nothing and accomplish nothing. Like, and that's actually a good state to be in. I mean, maybe it's my Americanness and the whole, Puritan sort of background of like, you got to work hard and do things, and you're not accomplishing something if you're not doing something. Like the process of learning to push your thoughts away. It's just, it's wild. Like it's blowing my mind.
We could talk about this for hours, I'm sure.
We really could.
Okay, so I had another question. This will be the last one for me. In the Matrix, Neo is able to download the ability to be a kung fu master. What ability would you download if you could?
Oh, that's easy. So I literally have dreams, I think weekly, that I can skateboard.
I used to spend so much time as a kid
in the world
trying to skateboard, and it never worked. I would watch videos of Rodney Mullen and get pumped up like,
Rodney
Oh
Mullen.
my God.
Blows my
I met
mind.
Mullen. I had dinner with Mullen maybe 2 years ago. Yeah.
That's
and it was a
annoying.
lifelong amazing thing.
Because I played Tony Hawk, right? Like in college, I played Tony Hawk nonstop. And Mullen, I mean, just the things it's like magic, right? And
Dude, his Plan B days, his Plan B videos from back in the day, Secondhand Smoke, like all the videos that he put out, Plan B, Mullen was insane.
Amazing. So
the Rodney Mullen versus Day One song
Oh,
videos
absolutely. Remember his dark slides and everything? He was just like, how is it even possible?
But then I would go in my garage and like fail at ollieing, and it was just so disheartening.
I can't even ollie. I mean, and now I'm 44, so I'm not going to try. So
that's a good one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can still skate a little bit. I was with Tony Hawk skating on the half pipe one time, and I couldn't do anything but drop in and turn around and come back down. That's all I could do.
That's not bad.
Have you seen that new documentary about him on HBO? I've heard great things. I need to watch it.
No, I havenate.
Oh,
he's such a good dude. I really got lucky to be. I joined his his board for his nonprofit for building skate parks for at-risk youth.
Oh, nice.
So Tony and I have spent a bunch of time together, and he's just the nicest guy, man. Just a good, humble human.
Yeah,
super cool. So what's your skill you're gonna learn, Kevin, if you plug in?
Oh man. There's so many things where, if you take the mental side out of it, because we obviously with all the Zen stuff and all that would be fun. But like we've already talked about that enough. So if we say that's not eligible, then I would say, I would just love to be able to understand computer science to the level to where I could do the crazy kind of like machine code level stuff, or these hackers can go in and look for like memory bugs, and like they're looking at not binary, but they're like they're picking through the code, and decompiling
like
things and looking at like the hardcore engineering, or maybe the quantum computing side, like, just to have that mind, even for just a day, would be so much fun,
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So that reminds me of the show. You're like, Ryan, you got to watch this show. What was the show where they built a quantum computer so he could go back in time to save his daughter who died?
Oh, yeah. People
Developers?
No, devs.
Devs. Yeah.
And, have you guys seen Devs?
Is that an Amazon?
I haven't even heard of it.
Oh
no, it's really good. It's only one season. You got to watch. It's called Devs.
I never saw it.
It's so good. It is so good. Devs.
Yeah,
it's
it's
all about
really
quantum
good.
computing and like.
You guys have to watch it. DEVS. Devs.
Add it to the list.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
that's a great answer, though. I mean, yeah, I think most of us in this space who have very little understanding of how smart contracts work and all the dev, it's like it is literally another language, but it's like a superpower when devs come along and can do all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Be exciting. So
whenever there's like a really big sophisticated hack in the space, we'll talk about it on the podcast, and we're just both amazed because we'll read the sort of a post-mortem on Twitter from somebody that kind of knows and like went through the transactions, and it's just fascinating to
Solidity hackers are next level.
Have that concept and that
shit.
deep of an understanding of what's happening.
So the thing is, I'm annoyed because I listened to Kevin's advice to watch Devs, and I didn't listen to his advice to mint Fidenzas. I'm like, what am I doing? How did I pick that advice to follow and not that? So,
well,
I was buying a lot of art blocks at the time Fidenzas came out, and I saw the previews, and I was like, these look great. But then I had some plans, and I was like, you know what? I'm not one of these people that can't separate life from work and all that. I'm just going to enjoy some time with my family. And then the drop happened, and I basically kept bidding, 20% under the floor and just chasing it and just never caught it. And it was so disappointing.
It's okay. It's okay.
It is okay. I became okay with it quite a while ago at this point.
Okay.
It's quite possible that Jamie has looked and bid on more Fidenzas than any person, especially if you include people who don't have a Fidenza.
Do you get an award for that?
We can joke about it because he meditates and
you get a POAP for that.
Awesome. A FOMO POAP. Cognizant of time, do you have a hard stop? Do we have to jump off in a minute, or can we go a couple minutes late?
We can go a couple minutes late. Yeah,
a couple minutes late. All right, then. Last question is so. Proof is 1,000. Moonbirds is 10,000. It's very it's going to sell out. People are going to buy it. It's going to have a high ownership. And then presumably floor is going to go up. Do you have plans already for expanding the community even further to like another 20,000 in a few months, 6 months, etc.?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good answer. That's good to know.
Yeah. It's just, the thing is, we've baked in and we have a big roadmap, even when we're just planning this, 6-8 months out at a time. And when you think about what we actually have to go out and deliver now, we need a proper team in place, and we're not compromising on who we're hiring. So we've been a little bit slower to hire than what I think we would like to have been, but it's on purpose. Like we want absolute A+ rock stars to work with at this organization. And if anything, we can't take on more. Like it's time to build out a team, let them gel, prove that we can ship product, week over week, month over month. And then, a few years from now, if things, but we're focused all on Moonbirds and Proof Collective, like that. Those are our communities that we're committed to for the next few years.
Yeah, we've got a lot to deliver to Proof alone, right? We're going to be we're going to be shipping deep dives soon, which are hardcore analytical deep dives on specific projects. We're going to be shipping one of those per week to Proof members. We're going to be shipping Proof Academy, which is, these helpful video sessions where we teach wallet security and important topics. And then we have to deliver IRL events. Like, these are all things just for Proof. And then for Moonbirds, we want it to be a top 5 PFP, which means the community has to be really, really good, right? So, but we do have plans for High-Rise. And I will say there's going to be a lot of opportunity for new folks to get involved, but give us time.
The nice thing about High-Rise, it doesn't require us. It's more expansion in terms of universe, less expansion in terms of like adding another PFP or something like that, if that makes sense.
Well, I can see like the wheels turning and you're like, what can I say? What can I not say?
Yeah, exactly.
Be quiet. Don't say anything. Okay.
All right. This has been wonderful. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Great.
I'm really proud and thankful you let us be your first guest. I think
we've had a lot of options too. You're not the first people that were curious about being on, certainly. So.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it means a lot, you guys. You guys have been a blast to chat with. This has been fun. I love the changing it up on the questions front too.
Yeah, it's like, whoa,
it was fun. You probably get enough of the exact same talks that you do through all this. So I thought something different could be fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you want to mention anything before we wrap up? Any final words?
I'd just say, if you're curious what we're up to, you can find us on Twitter, proof_XYZ, Moonbirds_XYZ, Kevin Rose, just standard Kevin Rose. I feel like I should have an _XYZ in my name or something.
We'll have links to all of that in the show notes.
Come say hi. I'm just at Ryan Carson everywhere. And we welcome more people to interact with us and hang out with us. I want to welcome more people to the community.
Absolutely.
All right.
It's been episode 38. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Two bored apes talking NFTs, DeFi, and some random stuff. Two bored apes talking NFTs, DeFi, and some random stuff.